What is good, Mexiplanners? I'm asked all the time, can you survive living in Mexico without learning Spanish? And I'm here to tell you, yes, you can survive, but you will not thrive, and I'm here to help you thrive. So today I'm going to tell you about my more than 30-year journey with learning the Spanish language. Man, this thing started for me way back in high school, but it's like anything. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so today I'm going to give you my strategies and tips that I've used to become better at Spanish, and hopefully it'll help you become fluent faster. Stay with me. So one of the reasons I say you can survive without speaking Spanish is just that. There are so many people living in Merida, Mexico right now that don't speak a lick of Spanish or speak very little, but they get by with Google Translate. One of my goals over the last 5 years is to become fluent in Spanish, but really I didn't get serious about that goal until probably the last 2 years when we were just about ready to move to Mexico. But what does fluency mean for me? It really means being able to speak, hear, read, and write in Spanish just as easily as I do in English. But I can tell you that's a lot of work, and it comes in stages. So today I'm going to kind of give you the strategies that I've used to become fluent in Spanish. And I'm not fluent, I'm far from it, but I do have a pretty good grasp on the language and I can communicate. So in the last 2 years, I've really gotten serious about learning the Spanish language. And today I can speak in the present. I can read Spanish pretty well. I can write or text with the best of them using my Translate app. So I'm able to communicate. I can get around Merida. I can even talk on the phone, which was a huge thing when, moving to a foreign country. Being able to just communicate without seeing the person in front of you was huge. And so today I feel like I have a really good grasp of the language. So what strategies did I use to learn Spanish as a beginner? Well, when I got serious about learning, the very first thing I did back in June 2019 was I enrolled in a face-to-face immersive Spanish class 5 days a week, 5 hours a day, speaking nothing but Spanish. Now, this is when it got real, y'all. I came to Merida, Mexico by myself without my wife, who is fluent in Spanish, by the way, and a Spanish teacher, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But I came to Merida, Mexico on my own to figure out if I could dig it, right? If this is going to work for me, if I'm going to be able to communicate. Because one of my biggest fears with moving out of the country to Merida, Mexico was that I wouldn't be able to communicate and I wouldn't have, the relationships that I've had, here in Atlanta, right? Going to Mexico and learning the language was huge for me, and it was going to be a big challenge, one of the biggest challenges I've probably ever faced. So I enrolled in a school in downtown Centro called La Calle. And La Calle is an excellent school. If you have seen my Instagram, you'll see pictures of the pool, the classrooms, the teachers, Sandra, Miguel, and some of the other folks that are there. They're incredible. But what La Calle did for me was it forced me to get real about where I was with my language, right? But I can tell you that, I was forced to kind of see exactly where I was and what level I was in the Spanish language. I had a very rudimentary understanding of the alphabet, how things sound, how to pronounce things, and it was very telling. So for 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, we did nothing but speak Spanish at La Calle. And I can tell you, man, I was blown away. My mind was, it was just, it was like at the end of the day, I didn't want to speak to anybody in English or in Spanish. But it was the jump start and the boot camp that I needed in order to get the learning process started. Fast forward to January 2020, and my wife started a Spanish teaching group for expats, for a few of us expats. There was about 5 of us that got together regularly, and we would go to one of my favorite places, El Orden de Caos cafe, and we would learn Spanish, or she would teach us Spanish. My wife is an excellent Spanish teacher. She went to school at Georgia State some 15 years ago and got a second degree in learning for Spanish teaching. And really that's what propelled us to want to make this journey to move to Mexico. But my wife is an excellent teacher. The problem is when it's one-on-one, just she and I, she can't really teach me. We've been together for 27 years and I can't say that she can't teach me. I'm not a good student. It was when we were in this group environment, she started teaching a group of us, and it was in that group environment that we were able to, that I was able to really take advantage of the fact that, my best friend, my wife, is an excellent teacher, and to really be in awe with her skill level. That's one of the cool things about my wife teaching us is she taught us things that we needed right then and there. So, we had to pay for our breakfasts every day, how to count your money. When they're telling you what the cost of your bill is, how to get your change, how to count, how to look at the bills and see that the money's written on it, how to pronounce those things, right? How to hear those things. So she taught us really good fundamentals that we needed just to get by day to day, and that we could use, just even from the couple hours of sessions that we did with her twice a week. Now, the cool thing about that was she would also go into detail about things that would come up. So someone had a conversation with the Uber driver and they wanted to know where to take it next, or how to, address or answer questions. We would go into those things. So it was very much real life scenarios of using the language and learning the background and the reasons why you do things a certain way. So she accelerated, I know she accelerated my learning tenfold, as opposed to, really just learning, we're going to start here, we're going to go there, we're going to do this next. She took us where we needed to go with whatever we had to, or whatever we needed to learn at the time. And that was a huge benefit for taking in-person classes with her. Here we are, in 2020, then the pandemic hits and we're meeting and having all these classes. Well, when we came back to Atlanta, my wife actually moved those classes to virtual, which still was very, very helpful, because now we're all locked up. We're doing Zooms with our folks to see our friends back in Merida that stayed, and we're doing virtual classes. And really, we were able to take 2 virtual classes a week and really go a lot farther, from March to June than we did really in person, because we look forward to those times of just being able to get together with people on Zoom. So my wife's Spanish lessons were, a tremendous help in learning me and catapulting me to actually being able to acquire the language a little bit better. And I know that she's helped a number of folks. I'm really hoping that once our baby's back in school and things are kind of back to normal, that we can get together and do those classes again in Merida in person. The biggest thing I'll say about, my progress with the language is simply just being intentional, right? Trying to learn a word, trying to learn a phrase, not being afraid to ask, what's this? How do you say this? How do you say that? One of the biggest techniques I learned at La Calle is just being able to describe what I wanted to say in Spanish. So I might not know the word for a thing, but I can say, la palabra for la cosa is, the word for the cosa. The word for the thing. All right, so some of the other strategies and tools that I use to learn Spanish as a beginner are things like YouTube channels. There's a YouTube channel called The Complete Language Transfer, and it's really more like a podcast. It's a recorded set of videos. I think there's over 100 videos or audio recordings of this guy teaching a Spanish student who's a lady how to use what you already know to transfer the language. So how to use the words that you know, how to use the conjugations that you know to transfer the language into Spanish. And that has been a tremendous help. I still listen to him today because, things that I didn't really understand, maybe the first 10 times that I listened to, I understand a little bit better now that I'm practicing the language on a regular basis. And so the Complete Language Transfer has been a huge help to me, and it's on YouTube. It's a playlist that I've downloaded, and I listen to it all the time, anytime that I have some dead time or just driving time. It's audio only, so you're able to listen and practice with the instructor and the student. Another thing is Butterfly Spanish. That's a great YouTube channel. And then Kuru Paul has kuru.us is his website. He has an excellent Spanish course that he used to teach to law enforcement in South Florida. So he's done all these really cool videos. I think he actually has a YouTube channel, Kuru Paul's channel on YouTube. and his Spanish channel is highly recommended. He breaks it down very simply, and it really does give you some foundation. But with all of those tools, you got to use it. You got to practice it. So if you learn a thing, go and use it 100 times that day, right? Or 50 times that day or that week. Make sure you use it, because that makes all the difference. So besides YouTube channels, I also try to buy and read the newspaper. Reading for me right now is a little harder than especially articles or books, because I'm a little slower. I'm actually dissecting the sentences and dissecting the article. And that's one of the things that my wife got us doing, was practicing reading out loud, which is very embarrassing. And here's the thing, reading out loud will quickly make you hear how you sound, and also, improve your pronunciation of the words. So that is another tip, is to read out loud, whether it's a newspaper. I actually get, I go to puestos.net for Merida information, as well as La Jornada Maya is another online newspaper. I also will buy the newspaper whenever I'm stopped at a traffic light. I'll pick up a newspaper and just kind of read through the articles. It does two things. One, it helps me understand what's happening around me. And then two, it gives me, more vocabulary, and I can see how people are using sentence structure. So it's a really big help buying a newspaper and just reading articles in that newspaper. So when it comes to doing business in Spanish, most of that is done through WhatsApp. When it comes to doing business in Merida, most of your appointments are set through WhatsApp. You reach out to people for help through WhatsApp. Everything is done through WhatsApp, right? And so for me, I'm able to communicate. I can text with, I feel like, the best of them, because I'm able to write what I think it should be in Spanish. And most of the time, if it's a simple conversation, I don't even need to use my translation app. But I use an app on my phone called iTranslate. And the reason I like it is because it allows you to download dictionary. So I can download the Spanish dictionary, and they have it both for Latin America, they have it for Spain, and they also have a Mexican version of the Spanish dictionary. So I can download the dictionary to my phone and use it online or offline, unlike Google, where if you're not online, you may run into some trouble. So I'm able to use that application to translate both English and Spanish online or offline, whether I have signal or not. Now, I use it in Spanish to translate or to verify what I'm writing. And a lot of times I'll write something. If I'm not sure about it, I'll copy paste it over to the iTranslate app and verify what I wrote, just to make sure that I'm coming across correctly. Occasionally, when I'm really in a bind, I'll just write what I need in English and translate it if I really need the message to be clear and to get the point across. But I use it as a verification tool 9 out of 10 times, and to learn new vocabulary, probably on that 10th time. So iTranslate is an application that I use on the iPhone. It has all the dictionaries, and you can use it both online and offline. And I think I pay something like $4.99 a month for that application. As far as Spanish language applications go, I've used Duolingo. And for me, Duolingo is really good at learning vocabulary words, right? It also helps you recognize those words, because it plays them back to you in different scenarios. There's a new app that came out called Fluent Forever, and I like their approach. Their approach is to teach you how Spanish sounds, like the difference between be and be. It sounds the same, but one is a B and one is a V, right? When you pronounce B's and V's in Spanish, they sound exactly the same. They sound like B. And so Fluent Forever starts by training your ear, then gives you vocabulary, and then builds on there. Fluent Forever might work for you. Again, it's a iPad app or iOS app that you can download and try it out. But my experience with apps are they're good supplements, but they're not the best way to learn the language. So the best way is to be immersed in the language and to have to speak it and to have to do it. And that was one of the reasons I went to Merida without my wife, is because I use her as a crutch. Initially, anytime I would get frustrated, I'd be like, you talk to him. You tell him what I need, And so she was a crutch, right? And for me to learn the language. And instead, one of the things that I feel like you have to do is just to get over the anxiety. People understand. Here's the thing I'm going to tell you, and this is probably the biggest tip I'll give you. I have a huge respect for bilingual folks. The folks that are in Merida that don't speak English know what a challenge it is to learn English. The folks that are in Merida that speak both know what a challenge it is to speak both. And so by you speaking not one, but trying to learn two languages, they appreciate it. And they're the most kindest people. They're the most helpful folks. They will correct you and help you along with the language. So don't be afraid. The Mexicans are super, super kind people. So I will tell you that the minute you get over your fear of sounding like a 3-year-old, which my daughter sounds way better than me. And she's 4. She's completely fluent accent in Spanish. But the minute you get over that fear, it just starts to happen for you. Hey, tell me some tips about things that you're doing to improve your Spanish today. Leave me comments below. Well, that's all I got for you today. I wish you the very best with your journey to learn Spanish. And if this has been good, do me a favor and hit that like button. Give me the thumbs up. It lets YouTube know that this is good content. It's exactly what you're looking for. Until next time, Mexitplans Monty, I'm out.